Green Bay Packers didn't draft 2 receivers in the top 100 simply because their existing wideouts weren't good enough. The real reason is far more strategic and tied deeply to how NFL teams manage their salary cap and roster construction. Paying middle-tier wide receivers large sums just doesn't make sense in today's NFL economics. This is a fundamental principle that guides the Packers' approach to building their receiving core. When you look at the wide receiver market, the numbers are staggering, and the way teams allocate salary cap dollars to wideouts can seem irrational. Unless you understand the bigger picture. Recently, the receiver market has become particularly volatile, and we saw a perfect example of this when Khalil Shakir signed his deal relative to Romeo Doubs. On the surface, it might seem odd because if you look at annual production per yard created, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson have actually outperformed Rashad Bateman. Now, last year, Bateman had the best season of his career compared to anything Doubs or Watson has done. But he has also dealt with injuries, which impacts how teams value him. It's not just about a single good season. Sustained availability and production matter a lot in evaluating value. Romeo Doubs, for example, has been on the Packers and producing value consistently in nearly every game since entering the league. There's definitely value there, but it also raises a big question. Why is Rashad Bateman being paid roughly $36 to $37 million over 3 years? The answer lies in the broader salary structure of NFL wide receivers. If you break down the so-called middle-class wide receivers, generally defined as those making under $20 million per year, you begin to see why paying a middle-tier receiver that kind of money is risky and frankly not smart roster management. Christian Kirk, for example, is making about $18 million per year, ranking him as the 21st highest paid receiver in the league, which puts him squarely in that upper middle class tier. It's like living in a nice neighborhood, sending your kids to good schools, having a decent commute. It's comfortable but far from elite. And yet the Jaguars traded Christian Kirk for nothing because they didn't want to pay him that salary. The 49ers did the same with Deebo Samuel at $17.5 million a year. Jerry Jeudy is making roughly $17.5 million in Denver, but he's running short routes with no quarterback to throw to him. Cortland Sutton at $15 million and Cooper Kupp at $15 million again represent that mid-tier pricing. The point here is simple. Teams are reluctant to commit large sums to these middle-class receivers because the cost often outweighs the benefit. You have players like Khalil Shakir making $13 million, Darnell Mooney also at $13 million after a solid year, and Rashad Bateman at around $12 million. Other receivers in this range include Darius Slayton at $12 million, Allen Lazard at $11 million, and a handful more making between $9 and $12 million. This salary tier is filled with solid, competent receivers, but none of them are game changers worthy of massive financial commitments, at least not without significant risk. Contrast this with players like Nate Hobbs, a quality starting cornerback for the Packers, who costs about $12 million a year. Would you rather pay that amount for a starting caliber cornerback or for a receiver who might only be the third or fourth option on a good team? Logically, the cornerback's value is clear in that context. Paying $12 million to a wide receiver, 3 or 4 is simply poor resource allocation, especially when you consider the Packers' salary cap situation and their need to invest heavily in other areas like their quarterback. The Packers are currently paying their quarterback around $50 million a year, which is a massive investment. The whole idea behind paying a quarterback that much is that you shouldn't have to shell out $40 million for a receiver like Jamar Chase or $25 million for T. Higgins. Instead, the quarterback is expected to elevate the players around him, reducing the need to pay exorbitant sums to every single wide receiver on the roster. Meanwhile, Chase and Higgins are elite talents whose contracts reflect that. But it would be a mistake to try to match that across the board. This dynamic leads to a natural salary cap balancing act. The Packers' strategy has been to draft receivers on rookie contracts, which are cheap and controllable, and hope 1 or 2 of those players break out into stars. These rookie deals, especially first-round picks, come with a 5th-year option, giving the team some control and cost certainty before having to pay big money. Second, third, and later round picks cost even less and, if they develop well, provide exceptional value. Look at some of the Packers' younger receivers, Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, for instance. Both are on rookie-scale deals, making well under $2 million per year. Reed ranks 99th in receiver salary across the NFL, behind even some lesser-known players. Players like Savon Williams and other young receivers provide the kind of salary cap flexibility that the Packers need to maintain a competitive roster without overspending on mid-tier talent. This approach means the Packers draft widely and often, throwing multiple darts because it's impossible to know which receiver will develop into a star. The ones who do break out and improve themselves valuable get paid, while those who don't meet expectations either become role players or get moved on. Historically, this method has allowed Green Bay to keep their roster young and affordable, while still competing at a high level. It's worth noting that when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, the Packers could afford to pay top receivers like Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb significant money because those players were Pro Bowl level producers. Devontae Adams was also paid handsomely, but only after the Packers benefited from cheaper rookie deals for players like Allen Lazard and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which balanced the cap. Without those affordable pieces, paying for competent but not elite talent becomes a dangerous trap. The lesson is clear. Paying for competency at wide receiver is a trap. You either want to pay for elite level talent or seek value by investing in young players on rookie deals. And that's exactly what the Packers have been doing. This strategy also fits into their broader team building philosophy, where stability and financial prudence often trump risky spending sprees on middle-tier players who don't move the needle. This approach is why the Packers don't chase after mid-level free agents at big prices. Instead, they draft receivers regularly, hoping to find the next breakout star. This system provides cost control, roster flexibility, and the potential for significant upside without breaking the bank. Even when some players become stars, their rookie contracts give the Packers a financial advantage in the short term, allowing the team to manage salary cap challenges more effectively. Looking ahead, as the NFL faces a potential salary cap reckoning, due to contract inflation and new collective bargaining dynamics, the Packers' method may prove even more valuable. Teams that rely on pushing cap money around with complex contract structures might find themselves in trouble when the financial bubble bursts. The Packers, by contrast, have consistently managed their cap with discipline and transparency, thanks in part to the absence of an owner who might make emotional or impulsive financial decisions. Ultimately, the Packers' receiver draft strategy and salary management reflect a disciplined, long-term view of team building. They prioritize financial prudence, value development, and risk management, a philosophy that may not be flashy but has kept the franchise competitive and stable in a league where many teams struggle to balance talent and cap space. Building on the foundation of their salary cap management and draft philosophy, the Green Bay Packers have cultivated a unique environment for developing wide receivers that ties directly into their overall team identity. Unlike franchises that chase big-name free agents or commit massive contracts to second-tier players, the Packers focus on cultivating young talent, using the draft as their primary vehicle for roster construction. This approach inherently involves a degree of risk because drafting is never an exact science, especially at skill positions like wide receiver, where production depends not just on individual talent, but also on scheme-fit quarterback play and health. The Packers' reliance on rookie contracts is a financial anchor that stabilizes the roster. Rookie deals, particularly for players drafted outside the first round, cost a fraction of what veterans command in free agency. This allows the team to spread resources more evenly across multiple positions rather than concentrating the cap on just a few players. Given that the NFL operates under a hard salary cap, managing resources efficiently is crucial. It means that even if a receiver shows flashes of brilliance, the Packers have the flexibility to balance that with investments in the offensive line, defense, or key special teams contributors. In this environment, the role of the coaching staff and player development personnel becomes paramount. Green Bay's front office and coaches have historically been skilled at identifying traits in receivers that might not immediately translate into production, but indicate high upside. Attributes such as route running, football IQ, work ethic, and the ability to gain yards after catch are heavily emphasized. For example, Players like Christian Watson showcase tremendous potential despite being lower draft picks, highlighting how the Packers' scouting and development processes work. Hand in hand with their financial strategy. This model, however, requires patience. Rookie receivers often take multiple seasons to truly come into their own. The Packers' offensive scheme, which has shifted with the arrival of new coaching staff and changes at quarterback, tries to balance giving these young players opportunities with protecting them from the pressures that can come from being expected to deliver immediately. This patience is a stark contrast to other teams that might cut bait after one or two disappointing seasons or overspend on free agents to fill. Gaps. Another element at play is the Packers quarterback situation. With Aaron Rodgers' departure and Jordan Love stepping in as the presumed starter, the organization has recognized the need to surround the young quarterback with talent on reasonable contracts that can be adjusted as the offense evolves. Jordan Love is still developing, and having a group of receivers on affordable rookie contracts allows the offense to grow organically. It prevents the team from being shackled by a few overly expensive contracts that don't match production or chemistry with the quarterback. In practical terms, this means the Packers draft wide receivers aggressively and often, knowing full well that not all will pan out. This volume approach to drafting receivers is not about finding a single star, but about assembling a group that can collectively contribute in different ways. Some receivers may become deep threats, others slot specialists, and some key players on special teams. The versatility and depth gained by this approach create an adaptable offense that can adjust to injuries, game plans, and opponent tendencies without a huge drop-off in quality. The Packers' draft strategy also serves another purpose. It sends a clear message to players and agents about the team's philosophy and financial realities. By sticking to this plan, Green Bay maintains a reputation for financial discipline and roster flexibility, which may deter some veteran free agents looking for large contracts, but attracts young players eager to develop and prove themselves. In a stable environment, this culture of meritocracy means players understand that performance matters and that the organization will reward those who contribute meaningfully within the salary cap framework. Of course, there are risks to this approach. The NFL is highly competitive, and relying heavily on youth and development can backfire if key players don't progress as expected or if injuries pile up. The Packers have experienced this before, missing out on finding reliable receivers beyond their core group has at times limited their offensive explosiveness. Yet despite these challenges, the franchise has managed to stay competitive largely because of its ability to balance cap management with player development. Another layer of complexity comes from the changing dynamics of NFL contracts and the evolving salary cap landscape. With recent labor agreements and revenue changes, teams are anticipating tighter cap restrictions in the future. This makes the Packers' approach even more prescient. While some teams may struggle to manage escalating salaries and backloaded contracts, Green Bay's strategy of controlling costs through the draft and rookie contracts puts them in a better position to absorb future financial shocks. Moreover, the Packers have demonstrated an ability to selectively invest in receivers who have proven themselves. When a player emerges as a true difference maker, the team has shown willingness to pay for that talent, but only after the player has established a clear value. This contrasts with the approach of locking up players based on potential alone, or overpaying for free agents whose past production might not justify their contracts. This pay-for-performance philosophy minimizes risk and maximizes the chances of retaining key contributors without hamstringing the roster financially. Looking ahead, the Packers wide receiver group will continue to be a work in progress, shaped by the balance between drafting, development, and strategic contract decisions. The front office will likely maintain this conservative but effective approach, drafting multiple receivers each year while using selective free agency and extensions to retain or acquire talent that fits their system and budget. This means the team might never have the most star-studded receiving corps on paper, but it can consistently field a group capable of complementing the quarterback and contributing to the team's overall success. In conclusion, The Green Bay Packers' approach to drafting and managing wide receivers is emblematic of their broader organizational philosophy, one rooted in financial discipline, smart risk-taking, and long-term planning. By resisting the temptation to overspend on middle-tier receivers and instead focusing on rookie contracts and player development, they maintain a competitive edge within the constraints of the NFL salary cap. While this strategy might not grab headlines or produce immediate fireworks, it builds a foundation for sustained success and adaptability in a league where managing money and talent is just as important as on-field performance. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Green Bay Packers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL, rumors are swirling that Matt LaFleur, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, has abruptly resigned from his position. The news, still unconfirmed by the Packers organization, has ignited a firestorm of speculation among fans, analysts, and insiders alike, with many struggling to comprehend what could have driven one of the league's most respected coaches to walk away so suddenly. LAFLEUR, who has been at the helm of the Packers since 2019, has led the team to multiple playoff appearances and was widely praised for his offensive acumen and leadership. Under his guidance, the Packers enjoyed one of their most successful stretches. In recent years, with star quarterback Aaron Rodgers reaching new heights, the prospect of LaFleur stepping down now, in the midst of what seemed like a promising season, is causing intense debate about the possible reasons behind this unexpected decision. Speculation is rife about what might have triggered LaFleur's supposed resignation. Some insiders hint at potential disagreements within the Packers front office or friction regarding team management decisions. Others suggest that personal reasons or burnout from the intense pressure of coaching at such a high level might be factors. There's also chatter that LaFleur could be exploring new opportunities elsewhere in the league or even outside football altogether. Whatever the cause, the timing is raising eyebrows, especially as the Packers are in a competitive position and many had anticipated LaFleur steering the team for several more seasons. This rumor, if true, would undoubtedly reshape the Packers' future. The organization would be forced into a sudden search for a new head coach, a challenging task given the scarcity of top-tier coaching talent available at this point in the season. The uncertainty could ripple through the locker room, potentially impacting player morale and on-field performance. Meanwhile, rival teams are likely watching closely, sensing an opportunity to capitalize on the Packers' potential instability. Fans have taken to social media to express their disbelief and concern, with many questioning what this means for Aaron Rodgers and the franchise's trajectory. Could this be the beginning of a major shakeup in Green Bay, or is it just a fleeting rumor blown out of proportion? As the NFL world waits for official confirmation or denial, one thing is certain: the buzz around Matt LaFleur's unexpected resignation is dominating headlines and conversations, leaving everyone eager for clarity on what comes next for the storied Packers franchise. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Green Bay Packers, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.